Hello, and welcome to the 9th video in my series of guides on how to use the coding website Scratch. In this video, I'll be explaining how to use variables, and also briefly mentioning how to use MyBlocks. By now, you probably know how to make a project in Sprite, and if you don't, I recommend you watch the first video, but there's still a lot more to learn about sprites and codings that I haven't explained yet. So far, I explained a majority of the code blocks, but there are two more categories I haven't covered yet, one of which is variables, so I'll do that in this video. I haven't also explained MyBlocks, but they're more advanced, so I'll only quickly explain how they work. Variables are essentially ways of storing information, similar to repeaters before. However, you can make these whatever you want. You can click here to create a variable. It'll make you choose a name for the variable and whether it can be accessed by all sprites or only the one you have selected right now. You can also turn it to a cloud variable, but I'll explain that later. When you have a variable, you can see all of them in this list of reporters right here. You can right-click on it to either rename it if you made a mistake with the name or just want to change it. Or you can even delete the variable entirely. Doing this will also delete all instances of it being used across all sprites. Quickly, I'll cover what the code blocks do as there aren't many. I'll be saying my variable for all of these as the default variable you get, and the one I currently have to demonstrate it. You can obviously change all of these code blocks to be whatever variable you have or want it to be. Set my variable to 0 will set your variable to whatever number or text you set it to be. Change my variable to 1. Change my variable by 1 will change the number stored in your variable by whatever number you put into it. If your variable has any text into it, the variable will become whatever number you change it by instead. Show variable my variable and hide variable my variable will show the variable on screen or remove it from being seen on screen. This can be used if you want to display the variables directly onto the screen. There are also multiple ways to display a variable. If you right-click on it in the editor, you can change it to be normal readout, which is how it is normally. Large readout, which makes it so you can only see the number of the variable, or slider, which lets anyone manually adjust the variable while viewing the project. You can also right-click on it again while it's in slider mode to set the minimum and maximum number the slider can go to. You probably have an idea how to use variables if you watched the previous videos, but I'll quickly give some examples to use them. As I've explained, variables are ways to store information. In this example, I'll be making a score counter every time you click the Scratch cat. Now you can see that whenever I click the Scratch cat, the score variable goes up. Now using the code, I'll make a way to reset the score whenever I want. Now you can see whenever I press spacebar, the score resets back to 0. This is a very simple example, but you can see how stuff like this can be useful for setting your own information. Now quickly I'll explain cloud variables from earlier. Cloud variables are essentially ways of globally recording information. Say I want to make a high score feature, so if someone hits a high score of clicking on the Scratch cat, it can be viewed globally by everyone looking at the project. I'll make that right now. Now you can see my score right here and the global world record right here. Now when I make it past the high score, it's saved to the cloud so everyone can see what the high score is. Another thing you can do with variables are variable lists. It's basically a way of grouping your information to different lists and makes it easier to keep track of. They're not necessary, but they make things a lot easier. That's about it for variables, since variables can be essentially whatever you want them to be. I also said I'd quickly explain MyBlocks, so I'll do that now. MyBlocks are essentially similar to variables as they let you create your own blocks. I wouldn't recommend using them unless you're planning on making more advanced Scratch coding. You can click here to create a MyBlock. When creating one, it'll let you choose text for it, let you create Boolean or reporter for it as well. You can also select Run Without Screen Refresh to help it run faster than normal Scratch code blocks. After creating a My Block, a block known as Define My Block will show up with whatever you put into it. You use this to, define your code block and whatever it means whenever it's used in a different situation. It's different from a broadcast as you can also use booleans and reporters into it as well as other features that I can't explain in this video just yet. But hopefully you have a solid enough understanding of variables now to be more creative with how you make Scratch projects. And that's all for today. We finally covered all of Scratch's categories of coding and some of the major features of Scratch's editor mode. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll try my best to respond. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.